Hold up, why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play the roulette with each step. I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bet.
Welcome back, y'all. This is the Double M Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jesus Dinero, here with my co-host,
Puma El Gato.
What do we got going on tonight, my man?
A knockout in the fifth. Usyk is now 2 times undisputed a heavyweight. Let's talk about it.
So, as you guys all saw, Usyk dominated Daniel Dubois. And, you know, me and my partner here, we had a little bit of a discussion as to how we felt about what happened in the fifth round, the final, moments of it. So there was a number of things that kind of stood out to me. One, Daniel Dubois has been plagued throughout his career with the sentiment that he always gives up, that he doesn't give his full amount. And I'll be honest with you, the first time that he went down, he took the full 8 count. Respect, that's what you should do. Deep breaths, get your legs back under you, take the full 8 count. That way you can get as much rest as possible because you know your opponent is going to come and try and swarm you. He got knocked down again pretty fast after the first knockdown. And after the first knockdown, if you watch, I actually watched 2 different angles. I watched one last night, one this morning. It did seem like Daniel Dubois was breathing very heavy when he was on the ground after the second knockdown. But despite that, he still seemed like his wherewithal was there. It didn't seem like he didn't know what was going on, like he was still in a daze, none of that. It seemed like Daniel Dubois fully knew what was going on, but as a lot of people are saying, it seemed like he just didn't have a response and he didn't have anything to come back with. So it seems like maybe he just said, fuck it. Because he tried to get up, but he tried to get up super late. Like he started trying to get up at the 7.5 second mark. And at that point, bro, you're not going to make it to your feet in less than a second when you're on your back. So first of all, we thought Usyk was going to win. We called it. We said Usyk was going to bring out a big dub. Usyk just seems like that guy right now. And as far as after this, I mean, the question is, who does he fight next? He's beaten Anthony Joshua twice. He's beaten Tyson Fury twice. He's beaten Daniel Dubois twice. Every time, the second time, with the exception of maybe Fury, he looks better. So I'll be honest with you. I think Usyk has said it himself. He's got maybe 2 fights left in his career. Then he's going to call it a retirement. But at this juncture, for you to not consider this man one of the GOATs, I think it's extremely foolish. So the reality of it is, I think Usyk did a phenomenal job. I personally didn't think Daniel Dubois stood a chance. The one controversy that they had in the first match, I'll be honest with you, I personally didn't see it as a low blow. I did see it like kind of on the belt area, maybe a low blow, but I personally didn't see it as a low blow. So I do agree with the controversy, but I feel like this kind of erased the controversy. It just seemed like Usyk just has too many tools for a person like Daniel Dubois to really exploit. And that's what we said in our review of the match before it actually happened, is that yes, Daniel Dubois is a heavy hitter. Absolutely. You can't take that away from him. But what else does he have? I personally don't think he's super multi-dimensional. He's got maybe 2-dimensional. He's a 2-dimensional fighter at best. But that being said, I even told my bro here, listen, when you're at this pinnacle, when this is your last chance likely at the undisputed title, you give your all, man. Doesn't matter if you think you don't got an answer. Shit, even if you go in there and you get a lucky punch and you're going to get a knockout by pure luck, give it your all. Give it your all, because this is the last chance that he's going to get at Usyk, and not just Usyk, but more than likely at being undisputed champion. So I personally think that this was a great performance by Usyk. I think Dubois lacked a lot in this performance. So I don't really want to hear a whole lot of talk about him getting another shot. He's now had 2 chances, failed on both. But again, it begs the question, who does Usyk fight next? Especially because I believe Usyk said he's got at least 2 more in him before he calls it a career. So who do you guys want to see in that position? Because I'll be honest with you, all the top dogs, they ain't been working. Tyson Fury is running his mouth saying he's the only man that can beat him. And it's like, bro, you lost twice. So yeah, I'm not really interested in that one either. But, it'll be interesting. What do you think about that, my man?
So me and him actually had a discussion last night as to whether or not Dubois could actually give it his all, especially after after the first knockdown, because it looked like you mentioned it before. Dubois still looked like he had that little bit of wherewithal within him. And I said, cool. And I understand that, the idea of going out on your sword like that. But if you have if you're Dubois going up against a man that has faced somebody in the likes of Tyson Fury, who couldn't even crack Usyk, couldn't even get one knockdown with as much punching power that Tyson Fury has. At what point does Daniel Dubois legit have nothing left in the tank? Why risk all that damage? I mean, look, going off of that first knockdown, Dubois took the standing 8 count, took as much rest as he could, got knocked down, and I counted. Took a second knockdown, 5 seconds. 5 seconds after the first. And look, I understand the notion that this is your last chance at undisputed at heavyweight. Something that can only happen to now only 5 fighters in history. Seven, sorry. A handful of fighters. And this is your last chance. This is your last dance. If you're going to dance, you better dance. My thing is, if you got knocked down 5 seconds after the first knockdown, I don't think you really have much of anything left. If you were talking about, okay, you better get in a Hail Mary, it's like, cool, you're asking for a 1 in a million shot against a man that hasn't been cracked down not once legitimately. Cracked down only once, but only because of a controversial blow in the first fight with Dubois and Usyk. And even then, it was a controversial blow, and it could have happened below the belt. So the one time that he was cracked, it was kind of illegitimate. And you're asking for a 1 in a million Hail Mary shot just to say, oh yeah, I went out on my shield. Like, look, I even said this, like, all right, let's say he did get up from the second knockdown. And we can guarantee if he was going to get knocked down one more time, we can probably say, yeah, that was going to be it. Which is going to be more likely of the two? That Dubois was going to get knocked down a third time within the 5th round? Because there was only a minute and a half left at that point. What was going to be more likely? That Dubois was going to get knocked down a third time? Or that Dubois could have landed a lucky punch, a Hail Mary out there to knock down Usyk? And not even knock him down, knock him out cold. What was the likelihood that was going to happen in the next 7 rounds? I think it would have been much more likely that Usyk would have basically put him out at that point than Dubois was going to knock Usyk down at that point. And look, I think at that point, Dubois realized, yeah, I don't have anything left. This is basically a checkmate. Why risk all that unnecessary damage if you know, yeah, I'm definitely not gonna crack this dude. Like, there's no chance. You can see by the second knockdown, this man looked defeated. I'm not saying, yes, I respect quitters and all that, or I respect people that was like, yeah, if this is your last dance, I'm not gonna dance anymore. I'm not saying I respect quitters, but I do respect this man realized he had nothing left in his toolbox. Why risk all that unnecessary damage? Why risk shaving off moments off my career just to say, oh, at least, well, I didn't quit? It's like, you and me could go about this until the cows come home, until the sun goes down and the sun comes back up again. I still think, at the very least, I respected Dubois for at least realizing he had nothing left in the gas tank. Why risk the unnecessary damage?
Listen, man, that mentality, that difference is why Usyk is undisputed and Dubois is not. That extra, that additional, that all the way, that's the difference between an Usyk and a Dubois. And again, this is one of the things that has plagued Dubois. It's not like here's the thing. We all agree that Fury lost both those fights. We all agree on that. I can't fault Fury never gave up. Even when the dude was being bounced around from post to post, he still put up what meager defense he could to stay in the fight, and he managed to make it to the end. So that's the difference between the Anthony Joshuas, the Furies, the Usyks, is that, yes, neither Joshua nor Fury defeated Usyk. Absolutely, I agree. But I consider them much higher on tiers of boxers than I do Daniel Dubois for that, because of that. One thing I did want to correct real quick, I told my buddy earlier, it's actually been a total of 11 undisputed champions. First one being Bernard Hopkins in 2004, with the most recent being, and I don't even know how we forgot this, Dimitri Bivol. It was lower, but obviously at one point Artur Beterbiev became undisputed, then he lost to Dimitri Bivol. So in total we have 11 total undisputed. So if Daniel Dubois could have mustered something up, even if it was by pure luck, he would have been number 12. 12 in the total history of boxing, only 12. The undisputed 4-belt era, back in 2003, 2004, till now, what is that, 21 years? There's been a total of 12. Not even one per year. Not even one for every 2 years. It's only been a handful. And if you want to be the creme de la creme, if you want to be that guy, you can't give up, man. Get up. Well, get knocked out. Because that's the difference between an Usyk and a Daniel Dubois. And a Daniel Dubois and a Tyson Fury. A Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua. Listen, man. The first fight with Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua, he was on wobbly legs the whole time. Joshua was. But he kept on getting up. And yeah, he lost, absolutely. But no one can say he didn't go down the shield. Nobody can say he didn't give it his all. I question Daniel Dubois' tenacity. I think at some point in the future, especially since Usyk's retiring, it looks like there's questions about Anthony Joshua retiring sometime here in the next couple of years. Even Fury's supposedly already retired, even though he wants to come back and fight Usyk. I think Daniel Dubois is still young enough to where he can become champion, maybe even undisputed. But you didn't beat the guy. If you win, but you win by default, you win because the guy's not there anymore, people are going to bring up questions, man. It is what it is. Either way, it was a good fight. Again, Usyk showed out, did his thing. I'm really curious to see who they're going to put up against. And Turki Al-Sheikh has mentioned a name, but I don't know, man. Again, I think Turki Al-Sheikh is pushing who he wants to see win, not who should actually get the next shot. But either way, we'll see what happens, man. It's going to be interesting what happens for the next two fights for Usyk. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.